how to deal with rejection. If you're a man and you think about putting yourself out there to meet more women, to find a meaningful, serious, long-term relationship, the thought of getting rejected by women might be very scary. And before I tell you how you can deal with rejection effectively, I'd like to tell you a quick story of my own so you'll understand that back in my previous life, I used to be deathly afraid of rejection, and I completely understand the mental and emotional barrier you're currently experiencing. Many years ago, I was in a nightclub with a friend of mine in Berlin. And he ended up dancing with a girl. We do find out at the end of the night that she was a prostitute, but hey, that's beside the point. I see him dancing with a girl, and I'm kind of there standing by myself, metaphorically speaking, with my own dick in my hand. And I have all these excuses / rationalizations in my head. Rationalization number one, just be with your friend, just have a good time, just wing him. It doesn't always have to be about you, which is a beautiful mindset on the one hand, but completely inappropriate because I could have just gone and talked to some other woman while he was evidently busy with this particular person. So that was one. The other one was, the other fear, the other blockage that I had was, what if people laugh at me? What if I actually go and say hi to a person and she rejects me? What am I even going to say? How do I keep the conversation going? There is a guy in the group. How do I deal with that? And by the way, if you want to find a serious, meaningful, long-term relationship, you never have to go to bars and nightclubs, ever. You can simply use online dating, or you can learn to approach women during the day, Starbucks, in your everyday life. But that's where I happen to be. And the degree of approach anxiety, that's the technical term, you're going to experience is going to be similar for most people during the day or at night. So I'm standing there, he's dancing there with her, I'm kind of there all in my head, and I see this one woman that I'd like to go speak to. And I'm so in my head, I'm so German, so logical, so overthinking that it took me an hour and 2 gluten-free ginger beers, which did contain alcohol, by the way, to finally be able to walk over to her and say hi. Now, when I did walk over, I asked her in English. Now, in Germany, people speak German. I asked her in English because it was kind of my alter ego. It wasn't really me who would get rejected if I was to be rejected. Excuse me, where are the toilets? And she looks at me like, have you ever gotten a look like that by a woman? It makes you feel like you have something on your face, you know, like you have a horn or 3 eyes or something is utterly wrong with you. And the second she looks at me like that, and by the way, my vocal projection was off, my nonverbals weren't great. The second she looks at me like that, I have such an amount of blood rushing to my head of it. You know the sensation of shame and embarrassment when you feel like everybody's staring at you and you just want to like sink into the ground and die? That's what I felt like in that moment. And so I immediately walked away, didn't look at her at all anymore, went to the toilet, splashed a little bit of water in my face, locked myself in the disability toilet, and chilled there for a few moments to calm down. So I really understand what a challenge approach anxiety or fear of rejection can be. I was terrified of getting rejected. And her looking at me like that wasn't even a rejection in and of itself. That was a congruence test. She didn't tell me to go away. She didn't say no, she just couldn't even hear me properly. She wasn't even aware of my existence as a high quality man because I presented myself as a weak ass version of myself. So what can you do? Well, on the one hand, you have to change your perspective. In psychology or in coaching, we call that a reframe. You are so afraid of getting rejected by who? A 50, 60, 70, 40, 50, 60, 70 kilo woman? By a lady who could never do any physical harm to you, by a person who you haven't known up until that very point. You've lived your entire life without the approval of that particular person. And now all of a sudden, your life is going to fall apart if this person rejects you. So you have to understand that on the one hand, cognitively, it doesn't mean anything. Getting rejected by a random stranger either only means that you made mistakes in your communication and she wasn't able to see what an awesome dude you are, and that just means you have to improve your communication skills, or there's simply a lack of compatibility and she's just not into you. Guess fucking what? There's 7-8 billion people in the world, half of them are women. There's 10% of all women are roughly in your age group. There's 400 million women in the world. In the right age bracket for you. Can you find one to get actually really excited about you? Absolutely, you can. That's the first step. So you have to understand that rejection in and of itself is not a big Deal. It doesn't mean anything. You'll be perfectly fine without the approval of that stranger. Second, you are placing this one particular individual on a pedestal. You're like, yeah, it's okay to get rejected by women, but I don't want to get rejected by her. I don't want to get rejected by her because she's so beautiful. Maybe she's somebody you've known. She's in your social circle. Maybe she's somebody you work with. Don't ever hit on women in the workplace, especially if you're a business owner, especially if you're a manager. It can get you fired. It can cause reputational damage that'll last a lifetime. Don't do that. That's just silly behavior, okay? But this particular person, maybe you've known her for a while, maybe whatever, maybe you've just seen her, she's so beautiful, there's something you feel, you have a crush on her, in other words. So you're making her more important than she actually is. Maybe you tell yourself, yeah, David, that's fine, I'm okay with getting rejected by some women, but not by her. Well, look, you are suffering a cognitive fallacy. Or like a bias, basically. You think that this particular individual is more important than she actually is. She's more special than you think, than she actually is. First of all, you don't know that much about her. You don't know what it's like to be in a relationship with her. You don't know whether or not you'd actually want to be around her if you had spent 2 or 3 months in her presence, carefreely and naturally expressing yourself. You've never made that experience. You don't even know what it's like dating that person. You've just created that fantasy. You've created this image in your mind of what it would be like to be with her. In other words, in neurolinguistic programming, they would say, you are fully associated with a potentially desirable future of being with her that is a complete figment, is that the right word? It's a complete expression of your imagination. It is not real. You don't know what it's like. Just because she's beautiful physically, doesn't mean she's beautiful on the inside. It doesn't mean that you're actually compatible regarding your life goals, your values, or anything. So you are making this person something that she's not. And let me tell you something. Even if she's that amazing, even if she would be your future wife, girlfriend, life partner, mother of your children, she doesn't want to be treated by you like that. In order to really get her excited about you, you have to not care. You have to cognitively understand that you can just meet somebody else. There is, even if the percentage of amazing women for you is very low, the total number is still huge. There's so many women. If you live in the US, for example, it's 300 million people, I believe. Half of them are women. 150 million women, 15 million women in the right age group for you. 15 million women in the US alone. How many have you met? You think, yeah, but she's special. How many have you actually met? And this does not mean that you have to go and date hundreds of women, that you have to become a player. That's nonsense. You just have to have a strong qualification mechanism. You have to have a strong influx of leads, so to speak. It's basically like a funnel of options. You want to create a lot of options for yourself. Online dating, Instagram, which is a form of online dating, meeting women in real life, Starbucks, Whole Foods, going out at night, on day trips somewhere near the wild Atlantic way in Ireland, wherever you may be, wherever an amazingly beautiful person happens to show herself, present herself to you, you gotta have the ability to meet that person, to create a potential option for yourself. You need more options. If you had more options, you'd realize, wow, it really doesn't matter. I could just walk out of my house, introduce myself to a new person, and that's it. But you've never made that experience. And that's the next step. So these are mental components. There's a lot of other powerful reframes that we could apply here, but that will go too far. The next thing you can do is you can progressively desensitize yourself. You can progressively take a step towards getting rejected. So one of the things I sometimes say to my clients is, your job is not to get a number. Your job is simply to get rejected 10, 20 times in a row. Your job, your assignment is to not have things go well. Your job is to get rejected 5, 6, 15, 20 times in a row, because then you get desensitized. Have you ever realized that? Maybe at one point you were afraid of driving, or you had a fear of flying, or fear of flying is a little bit different. You had a fear of something, you were afraid of doing something, and then when you actually did it, it wasn't that scary after all. I remember when I did my first judo competition as a young child. I must have been like 7 or 11. No, I think I was like maybe 11 years old. And it was a pretty scary thing at the thought of it, because even imagining going there by myself, because I was the only child from my club who went there. I knew that all the other clubs would arrive in big groups, so that was scary in and of itself. And then the first time fighting, even though we've done randori, which is sparring in the club plenty of times going out there actually competing is different because you know the other person wants to destroy you. And even if you're just 11 years old, if the other guy is bigger or similar age, it's a pretty scary thing. So we arrive there, and I'm the only person by myself. So my instructor, she goes, walks around, she says, David, you warm yourself up. And I see all these other kids running around in groups, joking, laughing, stretching together, and I'm kind of there looking around, being ginger, warming, trying to stretch a little bit, right? By myself, scary enough. And thinking about the fight I was going to have, I was very, very nervous. But then my instructor came and she did something really, really intelligent. She basically incentivized me to win in a very intelligent way. She said, David, if you get gold here today, we're going to go to Burger King. And as an 11-year-old child, that meant the world to me. Going with my instructor, and she was my hero. She was amazing. She was a black belt. She was so warm. She was so skilled. I really wanted to go there. It was her and her boyfriend or whatever at the time. And I was like, that would have been an honor for me to go to Burger King, which was amazing in and of itself, but with her. So I was even more motivated now. Still scared though. So I'm thinking about it, nervous. And then eventually when my time came, I remember the very first fight I ever had. This guy, they say, I don't know what they would say, go. I don't remember what the word for that was in Japanese. So this guy starts running at me. And I couldn't think consciously. If you've ever been in a physical fight, and you're a trained martial artist, you may have had that experience if you do jiu-jitsu, you realize that, oh, at some point instincts just take over. So this guy runs at me. In judo, you're not supposed to run, but he runs at me. So I turn my hip, and there's a throw in judo called ogoshi. And technically, you're supposed to grab the arm, go under the hip, bam, and then throw him over your hip. Now, there's a cheat version of it where you grab the arm, but then the hand goes around the head, boom, and then you throw him, and then you drop yourself into him. So my instincts just took over. I turned, boom, dropped him on the ground, landed on him. And whenever a person lands on their back, I'm not sure if the rules are still the same, but back in the day in judo was when you throw somebody on their back clean, it's called ippon, and you win the fight. So I won immediately. And then I proceeded to win, I don't know, 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5 fights, and I actually got gold. The reason I'm telling you this little story is I was so afraid of doing that fight, and then when I actually did it, it wasn't even that scary. When I was actually in physical contact, when I was actually in the fight, it wasn't that scary. Things are so much more scary when we envision them. But when you're actually there in person, you recognize, oh, I'm a competent man. I've accomplished a lot of things. I've been very successful in my career, my business, my hobbies, my body, whatever the case may be. I've already achieved significant things. I'm a very competent human being. I'm able to handle this because you're present. Because you're not all caught up in your mind, but you're in your heart and you're present and you're in the body. At least if you're fighting. When you're fighting, you're present to the moment. And the same thing is true with getting rejected because there's pain and suffering. And what you're afraid of is suffering. But when you get rejected, I'm not even telling you that's not going to hurt. It hurts, yeah. It's going to hurt a lot less. You can get yourself to a point where it almost doesn't bother you at all anymore. Or just like a tiny little bit. It's like, fuck. And yeah, it can sting. But you have to differentiate between pain and suffering. Yeah, it's going to be painful. But the difference between pain and suffering is the meaning we give it. Now, obviously, there's certain levels of physical pain where the pain is so high where it's almost indistinguishable from suffering. That's true. But like getting rejected is not that bad in and of itself if you give it an empowering meaning. But if you say, I got rejected, therefore I'm worthless, how am I ever supposed to figure this out? Oh, this feels terrible. And then you allow these emotions to penetrate your thinking and create negative thoughts, well, then you're fucked. But if you just feel the pain, you're like, yeah, makes me stronger. Awesome. Pressure makes diamonds, or pressure shapes diamonds. Pressure creates diamonds. The meaning you give it has a direct impact on the emotional reality that follows that comes right after the rejection. So there's a difference between pain and suffering. And if you realize, oh, it's just pain, it's going to sting a little bit, but who cares? I'm a man, I can deal with a little bit of pain, it's going to be fine. That's a very helpful mindset. So you want to do progressive desensitization, you want to use certain reframes, and if you want me to help you with that personally, simply apply for a free initial consultation call. If you want to find the right girlfriend or life partner, then let me help you with that. I've been able to help men from 26 or more, different countries at this stage. Get a better social life and find the right girlfriend and life partner. Fernanda and I, we're currently here on the west of Ireland, enjoying a couple of beautiful days near the Wild Atlantic Way, I believe it's called. And if you too want to be able to travel with the right girlfriend and you want to overcome your fear of rejection so you can have a serious, meaningful, long-term relationship, I'd be very happy to help you. Regardless, put the tips of the video today into practice, and I wish you all the best. Take care.